Clément Bonnereau joins me on the set to take a look at the papers today. Hi, Clément.
Hi, Jeannie.
Lots of focus on Latin America, where the Bolivian president, Evo Morales, has accepted an offer of political asylum in Mexico just a day after he resigned as president. How's that story being covered in Bolivia?
Well, the latest developments in Bolivia have sparked mixed reactions in the country. Let's have a look at the front page of El Deber. Evo Morales has already flown to Mexico, is the headline. The Bolivian Daily says the former president's decision has taken everyone by surprise. 2 days ago, he was still in office, vowing not to give in to the street after weeks of protests. His exile, though, will be temporary, says the paper. Evo Morales has vowed to return with more strength and energy.
Now, Evo Morales himself says he was ousted by a coup. What are the papers saying about that theory?
Well, a lot of them, especially left-wing newspapers, actually agree with him. Italian daily Il Manifesto denounces an old-fashioned coup against the country's first indigenous president, but neither hatred nor violence will stop him, the Daily warns in its editorial. Many commentators, meanwhile, are pointing the finger at foreign powers. Let's have a look at this cartoon by Brazilian cartoonist Latuf. The message is quite clear here. By forcing Evo Morales to resign, the Bolivian military have trampled Bolivia's constitution, and this with the help of foreign powers, the CIA and Brazil.
Clément, you've also been taking a look at a story that's getting a lot of coverage in the United Kingdom. British papers are reacting to the death of James Le Masurier. Now, he's one of the co-founders of the White Helmets, a well-known emergency response group in Syria.
Yes, the story makes it on the front page of the UK's Daily Telegraph. James Le Masurier was found dead on Monday near his home in Istanbul. He's believed to have fallen from his balcony. Police are treating his death as a suspected suicide. The Telegraph tells us that he'd been under intense stress and had suffered a years-long Russian smear campaign against him. Meanwhile, tributes have been pouring in from around the world as The Guardian reports. The Syrian civil defence expressed its deepest sorrow. So did the UK ambassador to the UN, who called him, I quote, a true hero.
Let's move on now to a particularly gruesome story that's been making headlines in Russia. Now, this is about a renowned history professor at the University of St. Petersburg who's been accused of killing his student before trying to dispose of her dismembered body in a river.
Yes, the story is all over the Russian newspapers. On the front page of Komsomolskaya Pravda, you can see a picture of the historian dancing with his student. The reason why he's dressed as Napoleon is because he is an expert on French military history. The paper reports that Oleg Sokolov, that's his name, was rescued drunk from the Moika River in St. Petersburg early on Saturday. He was found with a woman's arms in his backpack. Police later found other body parts further downriver, identifying the victim as 24-year-old Anastasia Yashchenko, a student he'd been living with for several years. Sokolov was questioned by investigators on Monday and quickly admitted to murdering his partner. Moskovsky Komsomolets reports that he sobbed so loudly in court that the judge had to adjourn proceedings. Sokolov said his partner had attacked him with a knife during a particularly blazing row.
It really is a horrifying story, and that case has triggered outrage. Women's activists say it illustrates widespread indifference toward domestic violence in Russia.
Yes, well, this is happening 2 years after Russian lawmakers passed a bill to decriminalise domestic violence, a measure that was, of course, met with fierce resistance by feminist groups at the time. Now, under Russian law, the worst sanctions that abusers face are fines of up to 450 euros, or between 10 and 15 days in prison. And, of course, that's assuming that the courts side with the victims. And as Lops notes, they don't always do that.
Clément, let's just wrap up now on a bit of a lighter note. Women in Montreal in Canada have been urged to wear hoodies to work this Tuesday. What's that all about?
Well, it comes after a member of Quebec's parliament, Catherine Dorion, was barred from the local National Assembly last week. Her crime? She was wearing an orange sweatshirt. Canadian daily Le Devoir tells us that the incident has sparked a big debate in Quebec, dubbed the Coton Ouaté Gate. Coton Ouaté being the word for hoodie or sweatshirt in Canadian French. A columnist for Le Journal de Montréal, meanwhile, denounced against what she says is rampant sexism in Quebec. She argues that men are not scrutinized as closely for what they wear. My hoodie, my choice, she says, urging women around the world to wear whatever they feel like wearing this Tuesday.
Clément, thank you so much for that, Clément Bonnereau. With that, a look at the papers today. You can always check it out again if you like on our website, the address france24.com.